Hello my friend, welcome to our channel Filipino Celebrity Now. In this video we are going to tell you about Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos. Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos starts on an ominous note: artillery and fire, corpses swept up by waves onto a beach, war and destruction. A narrator tells us that the 3 years during the Second World War, when the Japanese occupied the country, were 3 years when there was no God. The story proper begins in media res, in the middle of the action. Crispin is at the town grade school looking for Rosario. He finds her in a little hut in the schoolyard, shaded by trees. Crispin wants to say goodbye. The Japanese are coming and he is joining the underground resistance. The moment is important. In the few minutes they have together, we need to know that Crispin and Rosario care for each other deeply, that Rosario is desolate at seeing him go. Writer-director Mario O'Hara handles the scene with restraint. There are no histrionics, no desperate declarations of eternal fealty. Rosario is hurt and distant, Crispin gentle even when he understands that Rosario is beyond consolation. It's Crispin's understanding that shows the depth of the relationship. They know each other so well, they're inside each other's heads. One senses instinctively what the other is feeling, and a nice touch. This intimacy is less a source of pleasure than of acute pain. The next few scenes are transitory. How Rosario and her family are abandoned by their terrified neighbors, how the Japanese steal their rice and pigs and chickens, how they are reduced to eating roasted sweet potato for dinner. When Crispin comes again for supplies and rest, he is a blooded rebel, with friends. He tells Rosario in graphic detail what it feels like to kill a man. Rosario, disturbed, prays that God take care of Crispin even at the expense of her own safety. Enter Masugi and his doctor friend Francis. Masugi's a half-breed soldier, part Japanese, part Filipino. Francis is a Spanish mestizo. Masugi is lost and tired. He demands directions, and something alcoholic to drink. Rosario, angry at Masugi's boorish behavior, demands that he leaves. Masugi is attracted to Rosario, being drunk and used to Filipino submission to Japanese military authority. He makes a pass at her. Rosario slaps him. Offended, Masugi strikes her. Francis holds Rosario's family at gunpoint while Masugi chases her down into the basement and rapes her. It's a familiar story with wartime Filipinos, the family's young women taken aside by Japanese soldiers and brutally used. When Masugi comes back the next day and makes friendly overtures, we're on Rosario's side. How dare he take up where he left off? And how dare he look so sincere about it? We eventually learn that Masugi is sincere. He helps her family, and he's happy when he learns that she's pregnant. Rosario's family is won over by the canned goods and rice and well-meaning attempts to make amends. But Rosario refuses to forgive. He's not just a rapist, he's Japanese, the personification of everything she, her family, and every wartime Filipino fear and hate. More, Rosario is committed to Crispin, and any sign of relenting on her part would mean betraying him. Rosario is cornered all around, on one side by her hatred of the Japanese in general and Masugi in particular, on the other by her family's insistence that she accept him, on yet another by her growing attraction for the Japanese officer. She's waging bravely, as she does all things a one-woman resistance movement, except she's less and less sure what to resist. Sometimes her defiance takes her beyond the boundaries of common humanity. When her father is arrested in a shooting incident and Masugi gets him out, Rosario is angry. She doesn't care if her father is safe, all she knows is that they're deeper in Masugi's death. Not once, she declares when her mother chides her, "Did I accept a gift from him?" Her mother looks down at her swollen belly and says, "You're lying and you know it." Rosario blinks as if slapped in the face. Rosario's dilemma is similar to what Huck Finn faced near the end of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn. When Huck learns that his friend Jim has been captured and chained. Society taught Huck that it's wrong to free slaves. Should he go free Jim? Should Huck do something clearly wrong, willfully damn himself to hell, in effect for the sake of friendship? Is Rosario ready to accept a Japanese officer, the conqueror and killer of so many of her people, the man who raped her? The fiercest assault on Rosario's resolve comes from an unexpected source. Francis has helped Rosario give birth. As she lies on bed resting, he sits beside her and tells her what kind of man Masugi is, how his parents were killed inside a Filipino prison, how the boy had to make his way alone across chaotic Manila, to seek safety with Francis. Tells Rosario how war brutalized the youth, taught him not to think, simply act and fight, like an animal. Rosario and her child has changed the man. Can't she open up to him a little? I don't know what went into this scene. Presumably Gallaga's Tagalog was less than perfect. He is a Bacoleno, possibly more fluent in Spanish, and O'Hara must have seized upon this limitation and turned it to the scene's advantage. Francis' twisted Tagalog is helpless groping. His determined careful need to say the right words to Rosario is what makes the scene heartbreaking. O'Hara has hinted before at the close tie between the two men, but only now, between the awkward pauses in Francis' speech. Does the strength of their relationship shine through? Art critic Jolaco Quadra claims that Francis and Masugi must have been intimates at one point. As proof, he offers a scene where the two are urinating. Friends look at each other's penises and shyly compare sizes. More than friends, do not they are already familiar with each other's genitals? Fascinating claim that fits neatly into the scheme of the film, but in a way beside the point. Francis and Masugi's affection for each other is a variation on the film's theme. And whether this affection was physically expressed or not isn't half as important as the fact that Francis' little speech moves Rosario, shows her how wrong she is to resist. Perhaps Francis's talk was the last straw. Perhaps it's the recurrent image of Masugi grinding away on top of her, whispering endearments. But something snaps in Rosario. She feels driven to resolve this conflict. The act proposed is brutal in its logic, extending her line of thinking to its ultimate and terrible conclusion. There must have been a moment, possibly while standing on the stone bridge, when Rosario looked back and saw the steps taken along the way, how valid they seemed, how reasonable and sane in comparison to the monstrosity of what she is about to do. And she backs down. Doesn't have enough hate in her to go through with it. Strange how an act of acceptance and forgiveness can seem craven to the one committing it. Rosario's decision is the turning point of the film. From then on, she is on Masugi's side and never wavers, even when she meets Crispin again, even until the end. O'Hara, having taken pains to show us the wrongness of Rosario's defiance, now demonstrates the wrongness of the rest of the world in judging Rosario for her decision. Rosario has done what she felt in her heart was true. Now we come realize what Rosario has done, gone over to the Japanese, married one of their officers just when they are on the brink of losing the war. Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos is remarkable for what its two halves achieve. In the first half, O'Hara pulls us through the looking glass, the world frozen on its axis and flipped upside down, to show us how the wrong man can turn out right. In the second half, O'Hara performs an even simpler act. Allows the world to start turning again, and lets us watch while it rolls over Rosario and Masugi. In The Human Factor, Graham Greene writes that nations don't matter, people do, and that a man's true country is his wife and child. With this rationale, the novel's hero betrays his country for the sake of his wife and child. Both stories share a common element, an intensity of identification with the treasonous protagonist Maurice in the human factor, Rosario in Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos. We look at the world through their eyes and we are made to understand how reasonable their betrayal seemed to them, involving as it does someone or something they cared about. They seem to say to us, if you can't do anything, literally anything, for the one person you care about most, if you can't betray your country, your friends, your own self for that other's sake, then your bond is worthless. Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos and its better-known literary cousin are subversive in the worst sense. If everyone adopted this kind of thinking, the world would slide into chaos. Espionage would be the world's top industry and no one can trust anyone capable of any kind of attachment. There are those, of course, who argue that the world is already chaos, that espionage is already a vast industry, and that no one should ever be trusted. A fiery, flawed, fearless film, reckless and outsized in its intensity. Its understated passion, it speaks eloquently on the nature of sacrifice and on the cruelties and kindnesses human beings are capable of. By films, and Rosario sits alone in a church with no one to turn to. She once again resorts to prayer, and asks nothing from God except to look after her baby. A risky move, a desperate move. She did this once before for Crispin, and as with Crispin, her prayer was paid for with pain and suffering. You might call Rosario's the story of a girl whose prayers are always answered. The tragedy lies in the swiftness and brutality of God's response. Later, Crispin sits in the same church. He is alive thanks to Rosario, but, again, thanks to Rosario alone. He asks a priest if there is a God, an old question, but in Crispin's sad and bitter voice, a question with an edge. The priest gives a reassuring reply, that Masugi's relationship with Rosario is a sign of God's presence even during this infernal occupation. The answer is a bit too well prepared, the kind priests through the years have handed out like so many fortune cookie slips. You wonder how much faith O'Hara puts in such replies. Then O'Hara gives his own response, in the form of a blind man lighting a candle for himself and his palsied brother. The blind man carefully picks up the child, and makes his way out the church when a procession complete with hundreds of candles and heavily costumed wooden saints, marches in. The symbolism is obvious. True faith walks quietly out the door while pomp and pageantry make a grand, meaningless entrance. But the entire wordless scene is so quiet, so exquisitely shot and staged, an example of pure cinema that it takes your breath away. Yes, Crispin, there must be a God, only he could have inspired O'Hara to shoot a scene like that.
A 1976 film cast then and now in 2022, so let's get started right away. Number 1, Nora Aunor in 1976, age 23. She is considered to be the greatest Filipino actress ever and one of the world's best. The most awarded and nominated actress in Philippine cinema, she also won several international awards, including the 1995 Cairo International Film Festival Best Actress, Asian Film Awards, and the Asia Pacific Screen Award for Best Actress. Her brand of underacting is incomparable. She could act through her eyes. She says everything that needs to be said without uttering a word. Her silence hits the ground as studs and words would only cheapen the moment. Nora Aunor in 2022, age 69. Number 2, Christopher De Leon in 1976, age 20. A Filipino film actor and politician. De Leon appeared on the gag show Going Bananas and has appeared in over 120 films since the early 1970s. On July 1, 2010, he was sworn into office as the board member of the 2nd District of Batangas. Christopher De Leon in 2022, age 66. Number 3, Bembol Roco 1976, age 22. His birth name is Rafael Aranda Roco Jr. a Filipino actor whose work ranges from films to television. He is famous for his critically acclaimed role as Julio Mediaga in Manila in The Claws of Light. Though he acts in his country's films, he also had an important role in the 1982 Australian-US film The Year of Living Dangerously. He also portrayed villain roles in Philippine action movies due to his signature bald head as well as various supporting roles. He starred in Sign novella, Tinik S.A. Dibdib. He has twin sons named Felix and Dominic. Roco appeared in a minor role in 2010's Dajim, a Cinema One original film directed by Joaquin Pedro Valdez, about the strange goings-on in a remote mountain province. Bembol Roco in 2022, age 69. Number 4. Orlando Nadres in 1976, age 38. Orlando Nadres was a stage, film, television writer, director, and actor. He is the son of Egmedio Nadres and Tecla Riabaldo. He attended the Lucena and Tayabas Elementary School, then went to Luis Palad High School where he published his first story in Liwayway. He spent 4 years in Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary and a year in the St. Paul Seminary in Pasay. He took a secretarial course and enrolled in journalism and later in foreign service. Majoring in French in U.S.T. He died on July 14, 1991. He was 53. Number 5. Peque Gallaga in 1976, age 33. Celebrated Filipino filmmaker Peque Gallaga died age 76 on Thursday morning, May 7, 2020, in Manila. The veteran director, who was best known for his award-winning 1982 film Oro, Plata, Mata, passed away from pneumonia in a hospital in the capital, according to various reports. Born Maurice Ruiz de Lazariega Gallaga, the filmmaker became something of a legend in the Philippine cinema landscape. His career spanned almost 50 years and he directed more than 37 films, starting with the 1973 romance Binhi. His last project listed on IMDb is a short drama from 2016 called Tabang. Before that, he directed the feature-length horror movie Tiyanak in 2014 with Reyes. Other works he's known for include the Shake, Rattle Roll franchise, thriller Scorpio Nights and children's fantasy film Magic Temple, to name a few. He was also an actor, screenwriter, and production designer. Number 6. Mario Escudero is known for The Most Beautiful Animal in the World, 1974, Castiglione Buhangin, 1980, and APO, Kingpin in Manila, 1990. Number 7, Yolanda Luna in 1976, age 50. Her birth name is Irene Ramirez Santos, was born on September 18, 1926. She grew up in the northern Manila district of Santa Cruz, the eldest of 7 siblings. She was a teenager during World War II when Imperial Japan attacked the Philippines and occupied the islands. When Manila fell in 1942, she and her family fled north to Gapan City in the province of Nueva Ecija. It was a time when young Filipinas feared being captured, imprisoned, and taken as sex slaves by the Japanese military. An estimated 400,000 women and girls in Japanese-occupied territories across Asia were confined to military brothels and used as comfort women by soldiers during World War II. About 1,000 of those women were in the Philippines. She might have easily become one of them if she and her younger sister hadn't managed to outrun a few Japanese soldiers through a set of rice fields near their home one morning. After the war ended, she returned to Manila and became an actress, although she would have rather become a nurse. She was pressured by her mother to go into show business because of her good looks. Eventually, she began acting in TV shows and movies. Yolanda Luna died in 2011 from dementia complications. She was 85. Number 8, Edwin O'Hara is an actor and director, known for Malala Mo Kaya, 1991, Castiglione Buhangin, 1980, and Lovingly Yours, Helen, the movie, 1984. Number 9, Joey Galvez is an actor known for American Warrior, 1985, Castiglione Buhangin, 1980, and Super Ranger Kids, 1997. Number 10, Dante Balwa is one of the earliest members of the Philippine Educational Theater Association, PETA, with an acting career spanning more than 30 years. he appeared in a number of films in support roles, particularly in Lino Bracas, Tinimbangkon Unit Kulang, and Ora Pronobis, and Marilu Diaz-Abayas, If Bagong Buwan. He also acted for Cinemalayas in Baby Angelo. Number 11, Soxy Topacio in 1976, age 24. Soxy Topacio, one of the most respected directors and actors who left his mark in theater, film and TV, has died, Friday night, July 21, 2017. He was 65, he died because of lung cancer. In a statement, the Philippine Educational Theater Association, PETA, described Topacio as one of its finest artist teachers whose creativity and artistic skill encompasses the broad range of the performing arts. He was a generous mentor and was an inspiration to many young artists. Soxy was well loved by all in the company given his generosity with his time, leadership and artistic talent. Socrates Hernandez Topacio will be remembered for his invaluable contribution and lifelong work at PETA, where he directed numerous productions. He also starred in films such as If Magtoning Muneteo, Espiritista, Itay, May Mumu, and Wako. He also spearheaded the theater adaptation of Lino Bracas' acclaimed film, Bona. One of his latest projects was the highly acclaimed drama-comedy film, Dead Na Si Lolo. Selected as the Philippine entry for Best Foreign Language Film at the 82nd Academy Awards in 2010. Number 12, Licerio Tabalon is an actor, known for 3 Years Without God, 1976, Magandang Gabi Sa Inyong Lahat, 1976, and Mortal, 1976. Number 13, Tommy Yap is an actor, known for Angela Marcadu, 1980, Will Your Heart Beat Faster, 1980, and 3 Years Without God, 1976. Number 14, Nina Lorenzo is an actress, known for 3 Years Without God, 1976, Tagos Ingdugo, 1987, and Bajes, 1981. Number 15, Estrella Antonio is an actress, known for Sonalan Ing Pag-ibig, 1995, POW, The Escape, 1986, and Experience, 1984. Thanks for watching guys, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.